Ladies and gents, my name is Xander, aka Diaside, and in this video, we're going to discuss how to win Freelance Survival, or rather I should say, the brand new solo competitive playlist. The wonderful thing about this playlist is that you no longer need a team to actually do well in competitive, and that within itself is spectacular. But what really distinguishes this playlist amongst the rest is that there is only solo players and no teams whatsoever. For all you solo players out there, I know that you guys are ecstatic, and this is fantastic news for all of us. But with this solo playlist comes a completely different mindset. And so with that, we then had to discuss things like map awareness, engagement types, knowing when to engage and disengage, rotations, map control, and all that kind of jazz, which we'll get into more in depth later. But more importantly than this is something that I think that you guys have to see, which is examples of all the things that I just mentioned. Personally, I've already gone from 0 to 5500 aka max legend rank this season, and throughout this journey, I have some extremely good examples that I think that you guys need to see, but in a breakdown format, step by step, so that you guys can really see exactly what you need to do and replicate, and with a little bit of practice, either obtain the Not Forgotten for your very first time, or potentially gain the Unbroken title. The only thing left to do is to sit back, relax, and eviscerate that notification button, and let's jump right into the video. Before we can really dive deep into all the examples that I have for you, what I really want to do first is just discuss some of the topics that I mentioned from the intro, and the first one that's most important is map awareness. Map awareness pertains to something like radar retention, but this isn't just the radar itself, it's paying more attention to where your teammates are at more than where the enemy is, because that's then going to give you a better understanding of all the options that you have available to you. In correlation with this, you then have to pay attention to the environment, and this includes a box on the left, a hallway on my right, or whatever it might be, and in relationship to this is the kill feed. I can't tell you as to how many times that kill feed has saved my bacon, because now I understand as to whether or not I have a teammate with me, I don't have someone with me at all, I have 5 enemies surrounding me, or whatever the case may be, you understand what I'm saying because that kill feed is going to give me lots of information, including whether or not I have to worry about a Warcliffe Quail, or potential rocket, or a colony, or something else along those lines. The kind of map awareness that I just described is next level map awareness, as that's then going to allow you to anticipate without hesitating. And this then leads me to my next point, and that is the anticipation without hesitation mindset. I've said this time and time again, and this pretty much means that what you're then going to do with this map awareness is then be able to have a game plan going into those set of options, or rather actions that you can then execute and thus be able to go according to plan or not according to plan. If the actions that you've already taken in your mind have gone according to plan perfectly, then the enemy team has been completely eradicated, decimated, and obliterated into smithereens. But if they haven't gone quite according to plan, then still follow through with your plan, as this is the no hesitation part, because that's then going to allow you to still make a clear-cut choice decision, and having this type of decision is certainly better than hesitation, because the hesitation is almost always going to get you killed. You don't want that, I don't want that, nobody wants that. And so the next thing that we have to kind of go along with this is the types of engagements that we're going to find ourselves in. And this is then going to be 1v1s, 1v2s, and 1v3s, but you also might happen to have a teammate with you, which then opens the door to a wide variety of tactics, like maybe something like bait and switching, or potentially just simply breaking line of sight, and the list goes on. However, there are many engagements where you might find yourself with your teammate, and it might be more advantageous for you to rotate. Now this rotation could be by yourself, it could be with that teammate, or it could be a flank to get a pinch, and it can be so many other options, but keep in mind that when you stay stagnant, stagnation is literally the worst thing that you can possibly do in solo competitive like this. And so to you, I would highly advise that you constantly rotate, whether with your team or by yourself. That's going to keep you and your team much more aligned for a victory. Lastly, we have map control, and map control is extremely important. And the reason why it's so is because that's then going to give you and your team the power ammo, and this can then turn the tide of battle in an instant. Now I realize that there's a lot of engagements where you might not be able to gain the map control, but what you can do is you can fake out the enemy team by mimicking that you have the map control when in reality you don't, and you can use this to your advantage to then take the map control even more so from the enemy team. How you do this is by picking which types of engagements to engage in and disengage in. And this then brings me to my very first 2 examples, which is either the fight or flight instinct. Far too often, I see way too many Guardians make a push when they shouldn't, or retreat when they should have pushed. Knowing when to do each one of these two actions is absolutely pivotal for you to be able to become successful in the solo competitive playlist. And the way in which I can show you this is by these first two examples. As you guys can see from right here, I've just gotten into my first engagement and I happen to get the guy one shot. So I chase him down, but then all of a sudden, there is his teammate healing in a rift, and so I say, nope, I'm out of here, peace out. The reason why this is so important to understand this is because even though I made a very good decision to chase him down initially, his teammate was hiding off radar, I didn't know that he was there, I did my best to take him out, I missed a couple of shots here and there, realized that this was no longer the ideal scenario for myself, and so as soon as that happened, I dipped. But in the meantime, they also used their abilities, and I'm still alive. And so now when I go to re-engage these guys, I have a much better chance of winning this outcome. Very similar to the engagement that you guys just saw, the second engagement is once again with me making a Guardian one shot. But then his buddy comes out, I put a little bit of damage in him, I then got a reload, put some more damage in him, and then now he's one shot, but then all of a sudden, hello, I see about 3 guys there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's no way that I can possibly take each and every single one of these guys out. And so it's much more advantageous for me and my team to just simply retreat, and then we can team shot together as a more universal perspective. What I really want you guys to take away from this is that it is vital for you to be able to understand when to know to push and when to retreat. In both of these initial circumstances, it was advantageous for me to go ahead and push, but then the tides of battle turned on me, and so I realized that and retreated as best I can and still maintained my life. Remember, this is survival. Your life is much more important than what you think, and if you happen to die once, maybe not so bad. But if you happen to die once, twice, 3 times, then all of a sudden you are a hindrance to your team and you're not helping your overall team win. Now don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean to play passive because as you all know, I'm very aggressive, almost to the point where I would consider it to be a hyper-aggressive playstyle. And so with that, I know when to push and push on a very regular basis. And so this next couple of examples is doing just that. Before I go any further, I just want to put on pause and pay attention to that radar. The radar is telling me that number 1, I have my teammates behind me and to my left, and then number 2, I happen to have a Guardian most likely by that power brick and most likely to the center. And so now that I have this information, I can then take aim towards the center, maybe see a guy there, maybe I don't, but then all of a sudden there he is. I point in a couple shots, I get him. I reload, help out my teammate from my left, get one Guardian down just like that, and now I happen to get that fantastic 2-tapping potential of the kill on the Orchid. Bada bing, bada boom, a team wipe, baby. With this team wipe, I know that they're probably going to spawn on the opposite side of the map, so I pick up that power ammo and I go to just that, the opposite side. And lo and behold, there he is, I shoot that rocket, I go into the fuel to then go ahead and get a flank, and as I'm getting this flank, I know my teammates to the left inside the pipes, so we pinch them together and get the next guy beautifully. But then again, it's not over yet, we see one more guy, I get a couple of shots into him, he's one shot, we flank from 2 different perspectives, and just like that, the Annihilation Medal is ours. As I rewind this, there's a couple things that I really want you to pay attention to. And the first one being is that I knew exactly where the enemy team was at all times, and simultaneously I knew where my teammates were, as this then allowed me to make a very good educated guess as to what the best course of action was. Once the team wipe was had, I then picked up the power and went towards their spawn, predicting as to exactly where they were going to be, trying to get them to spawn into a domino effect so that I could face them all in a 1v1 or a 1v2 situation. Lastly, I want to put it on pause right now, and that's because I want you to pay attention as to where the enemy was and once again where my teammate was at. I realized that he was going to go to the left, and so the most logical choice was to go into a perspective that the enemy Guardian was certainly not anticipating, and lo and behold, we happened to get him directly into the air in a perspective that he definitely knew that I was not going to come from. And the reason why it worked is because I had some very good knowledge of the map and what could be done and what couldn't be done. Just within this one engagement, I was applying map awareness via my radar retention, but that included enemy awareness, teammate awareness, environment awareness, and all these things combined then allowed us to come out on top for this particular round. Within this exact same game, I have one more engagement that I want to show you guys. As you can tell from right here, this is a 1v1 engagement near the pipes, and I happen to get him one shot and take him out by shooting him in the Achilles heel, pun intended. And now we move on to the next engagement. And as you can tell, my teammate is with me, and so we're constantly rotating. But then as we're doing so, we catch this Guardian off guard, get him no problem, I happen to reload and get the next Guardian with that marvelous and oh so crispy 2-tap, but then I see a guy in the very back of the map, he's sniping my ass, so I'm like, nope, I gotta dip, and while I'm doing so, my teammate was then smart enough to pick up the power while I was holding those guys off, and lo and behold, we get some more team shots, and then he happens to get the next 2 kills with that rocket launcher. As I rewind this for you guys and play it one more time, the main thing that I want you to take away from this is that I was in a constant position of rotation, and number 2, I had my teammate with me, knowing that in the back of my mind. So then if I happen to get one shot here or there, I could retreat and then he could take over, or if he happened to get one shot, then I could go ahead and take over for him, and so on and so forth. You probably already realized that this was the definition of aggressive play, and together we got some spectacular 2-taps via that kill on the Orchid, which, oh my gosh, if you haven't tried it yet, you definitely got to, but with that we then got the W, and that's what it's all about. Now I realize that you may not be with a teammate 24/7, or your teammate might be doing their own thing entirely by themselves, and that's then going to leave you just by yourself, aka a solo player, and that's why you're in solo comp. But in understanding that, there's a lot of things that you can do as a solo player by making solo plays, and the best way to show this is with this next engagement, and it's a 1v5. So here I am on this next map near the waterfall, and I see my teammates are in desperate need of help, so I try to rush to them as fast as I possibly can. But unfortunately, I can't quite get to them fast enough, and they die in the process. But knowing this, I'm putting it on pause because most likely I know that these enemy guardians are going to be damaged significantly, and thus it's the most advantageous position for me to be able to attack them while they're weak. And so in explaining this, I put it back on play, taking out that first guardian, taking out that second guardian, and almost take out the third, but he dodges, gets some health back with that worm husk, but lo and behold, I happen again with that 4th and final shot right there in the noggin. Just like this, I've turned the tides of battle, and the reason why I was so is because I was paying attention to what my teammates were doing before I got to that engagement. But the match isn't over yet, and so we go into the next engagement, and then once again I put it on pause because I have a very difficult decision to make. My radar is telling me right here that I have to either choose to go to my right or to my left, because most likely I got a guy probably at the bridge area, and the other guy's most likely in the lane by the cube. And so this then tells me that I have to make a clear-cut choice as to which one of these two that I'm going to go for. Putting this back on play, I then go for the guy to my right-hand side, take him out with my shotgun, know there's a guy most likely behind me, I dodge, making him miss all of his fusion rifle shots, and then shotgun him once again right in the chest. I happen to get that 1v5, just like taking out a ton of hive. I know, my friends, that was a horrible pun, but I just couldn't help myself. And so anyways, when I put this back on play, what I want you guys to take away from this is that I was paying attention to the engagement before I even got there. And this then allowed me to have a very good condition, or most likely a probable condition, as to what the enemy guardians were currently having in terms of their health. That anticipation allowed me to then take all 3 of them out, no problem whatsoever, and then try to lure them into a 1v1 situation that I could then control with my shotgun. And as you guys saw from right there, that's precisely what happened, and it's all due to the anticipation without hesitation mindset. Moving on to the next engagement, we find ourselves on Altar of Flame right by the steps. And so as I do so, I pull up my sniper, and lo and behold, there's a guy right there at the cross map by the dunes. So I shoot him in the dome and then look to my left, get a quick little quick scope on that guy, finish him out with the body shot, or at least I try to, but my teammate gets the kill anyway, and that's a-okay with me. What I want to do next is I want to flank these guys from the outside, because I can tell that once again, they're still at the dunes, and my teammates have the interior control. And so as that happens, I get this lightning fast quick scope on that guy right there, and then remember that the other guy was hard scoping, and sure enough, I catch him aiming down sights and get that guy right there in the dome. Even with this, the engagement isn't quite over yet. There he is. I miss my snipe shot, try and get a few shots in there with the kill on the Orchid. I make this spectacular dodge mechanic just in time, and then try to push up against him so that he can't use that Jotun against me again. As I do this, he's a little bit evasive, but I chase him down, and sure enough, there's that fantastic Annihilation medal. As I rewind the engagement so that you guys can see it one more time, there's 2 things that I want you to take away from this. Number 1, when I took out that first guy via that first sniper shot on the dunes, and then I recognized him to be once again hard scoping later on in the engagement, this is what's called player learned behavior, and you can anticipate people to do this on a very regular basis. If you see somebody who's hard scoping, that means that most likely they're going to be hard scoping again, and this time around they might be doing it into a different perspective, and that means that you can anticipate as to which angles or lanes that they might be doing this in. The second thing that I want you to take away from this is that my flank was a very calculated risk, And the reason why it was so is because I was anticipating, or rather predicting, that my teammates were most likely going to have that map control around the power and then get those sniper shots with the revoker. As far as the last Guardian goes with that Jotun, he had actually killed me with that Jotun earlier in the match, and so I knew that he already had that Jotun. And so in this respect, I was trying to keep my distance as much as I can, because my Hunter dodge can allow me to make sure that I do just that, dodge the Jotun shots. But when I'm in close proximity, it's much harder for me to do so. But also I know that he only has a certain amount of shots, and so once again, taking a calculated risk, I made sure that I went and pushed him as soon as he had that second Jotun shot off, and thus, he probably didn't have any more, so I was able to take him out with my killed Orchid shots. As we go into our final breakdown analysis in this next engagement, you're going to recognize that I'm using something ever so slightly different, and that is the Thorn paired with the Beloved. And so right here, I'm putting it on pause, because you can already tell that I have a teammate from behind, and I also have a teammate engaging in the market, and so this then tells me that I have to help him out as fast as I possibly can. I do so by taking on my Beloved and trying to get a sniper shot, but then this guy pops out of nowhere, get a nice little drag scope, and that's one Guardian down. I then pick up the special, try to get a reload, but then as I try and fire my next sniper shot at the following guy, my bullet jams. I can't do anything about it, so I simply pull out my Thorn, help out my teammate because he's getting shotgun from this guy, take him out, pull out the sniper one more time, poof! That little sneaky munchkin gets his freaking head shot off as if being sent from a lightning bolt by the Greek god Zeus himself, giving that oh so delicious and oh so delightful and oh so beautiful annihilation medal. The main thing that I want you to take away from this is that number one, I made sure that I was helping out my teammate from a different perspective, and that's what allowed us to get that team wipe cumulatively as a team. But number two, I had something that happened to me that I simply was not expecting or anticipating, and that was the bullet jam. But even so, I simply just had to go with the flow and pulled out my hand cannon to try and help out the team as best as I could, and lo and behold, we still got the round win. Now if I happened to panic because of that sniper rifle jam, then this could have been a completely different outcome, and obviously I probably would have died, my team would have lost the round, and that could have been disastrous for all of us. So to prevent that, always keep a level head, and if something happens that you don't anticipate or expect, go with the flow. It might turn out better than what you think. As long as you keep that level head and don't get upset at something that might have happened, you can then make a much better overall decision as to what to do next, and that's exactly what's going to happen time and time again. And having seen all these examples, I think that you guys now have a very solid understanding of what to do when you're in this brand new solo 3v3 freelance survival competitive playlist. I cannot tell you the significance of map awareness and how that's then going to play into your radar via your enemy and your teammates' locations, how to make the environment work for you, and then how that kill feed's then going to give you more information to make a better overall decision as what you can do next. In association with that, you're then going to have different types of engagements, 1v1s, 1v2s, 1v3s, duo pairing, and that's then going to incur breaking live sight, baiting switching, and the list goes on. Now I don't want you to run in there like a freaking chicken with their head chopped off. No. I don't want you to do that at all. And rather, I want you to think, okay, is this going to be an engagement in which I should actually engage or disengage? Am I going to rotate? Am I going to use flanks with my teammates? Am I going to do something entirely different by simply having the map control, by potentially making it so that I gain the power ammo, or by making it look as if I'm losing the map control, but in reality I'm not? These are all questions that you have to ask yourself in a split second, and you cannot hesitate, because as I said from before, the anticipation without hesitation mindset is key to being able to do all these things and so much more. If you do it according to the playstyle in which you're familiar with while complimenting your teammates beautifully, then that's going to make enemy guardians a little bit salty. But even so, every single engagement is not going to go according to plan. So all you can do is keep that level head, learn from your mistake, or potentially learn from your teammate's mistake, and then be able to adapt and then make a better overall decision in the future to prevent that circumstance from happening again. With this, I'm very intrigued to hear all your guys' thoughts on it down in the comment section below. Did you find it helpful? Did you not? Did you like the examples? Do you want to see more? What kind of stuff is happening to you when you're going through and playing the solo comp playlist? Remember, no matter which kind of teammates that you happen to get paired with, the only thing you can do is try to predict what's going to happen next. And if you can do that, I got a feeling that you're going to have some very good outcomes. And no matter what you guys say, you all know that I'm going to respect your opinions 110%. Lastly, be sure to watch the newest, check the latest, and share, comment, like on social media because you are the greatest. That's pretty much all I've got for you as of right now, DS Slayers. And as always, GG TNT.